The only thing open about OpenAI's new open-source GPT-OSS models is the model weights. Training data, architecture details, and the actual intellectual property remain completely secret. Is this real openness, or a brilliantly disguised marketing trick? But what if I told you this isn't just about transparency? It's about a desperate strategic pivot after Chinese AI models humiliated Silicon Valley at their own game? Welcome back to AI Handbook, where I decode the real strategies behind AI industry moves that companies don't want you to understand. By the end of this video, you'll see how OpenAI's open source release is actually a calculated geopolitical chess move disguised as transparency, and why the terminology matters more than you think. Let's start with the fundamental deception in OpenAI's messaging. When they announced GPT-OSS-120B and GPT-OSS-20B as their return to open source, tech media immediately picked up the narrative. But here's what they're not telling you. These models aren't actually open source. What OpenAI released are open weights, meaning you can download the trained parameters that make the model work. Think of it as getting the final recipe without knowing the ingredients, cooking process, or kitchen techniques that created it. Real open source would include the training data, the pre-processing scripts, the training code, the evaluation methods, and the complete technical specifications. OpenAI gives you none of that. They confirmed the models use a mixture of experts architecture with 12 active experts out of 64, but they won't tell you the routing mechanism, the crucial part that makes it work. It's like Toyota giving you a car engine, but keeping the transmission design, fuel injection system, and manufacturing process completely secret, then calling it open source automotive technology. According to MIT Technology Review, researchers who study how LLMs work need open models to examine and manipulate them in detail. But OpenAI's approach gives you just enough to run the model, not enough to understand or truly improve it. It's not accidental. It's a calculated strategy to appear open while protecting their competitive advantage. But why make this move now? The answer lies in a crisis that started in China. If this kind of strategic AI analysis helps you understand what's really happening behind corporate announcements, hit subscribe and notifications. And if you know developers or AI enthusiasts who need to understand the difference between marketing and reality, share this breakdown with them right now. To understand OpenAI's sudden openness, we need to go back to January 2025 when China's DeepSeek dropped a bomb on Silicon Valley. Their R1 model didn't just match OpenAI's performance, it did it for a reported $6 million in training costs versus OpenAI's hundreds of millions of dollars. But the real shock wasn't the cost efficiency. It was that DeepSeek made their model truly open weights, allowing researchers worldwide to study, modify, and improve upon their work. While OpenAI was charging premium prices for API access, Chinese companies were giving away world-class AI for free. The impact was immediate and devastating. As reported by TechWire Asia, Chinese open-source models now dominate global rankings. DeepSeek, Alibaba's Qwen, and other Chinese models placed ahead of Google and Meta in Berkeley's LMA Arena rankings. Sam Altman himself admitted in March that OpenAI had been on the wrong side of history when it came to open models. That's a stunning confession from the CEO of the most valuable AI company in the world. The geopolitical implications were clear. If Chinese AI dominates the open source ecosystem, they control the global AI infrastructure that millions of developers build upon. This isn't just about technology, it's about technological sovereignty. But Altman's response reveals the strategic thinking behind OpenAI's pivot. OpenAI's messaging around GPT-OSS is carefully crafted geopolitical positioning. Altman emphasized he's excited for the world to be building on an OpenAI stack created in the United States, based on democratic values. Notice the language, democratic values versus the implied authoritarian alternative. This isn't about technical specifications. It's about cultural and political alignment in AI development. Box CEO Aaron Levy reinforced this message, warning that if US companies fall behind, Chinese firms could dominate open source models optimized for Huawei chips. It's important that America stays in the game, Levy said. Hugging Face CEO Clement DeLange called the release critically important, pointing to Trump's AI action plan's call for stronger American open-source AI foundations. The strategy is clear. Position American AI as the democratic alternative to Chinese AI, even if the technical openness is limited. It's soft power through software architecture. But there's a massive business contradiction in this strategy. Here's what doesn't make sense from a pure business perspective. OpenAI is having their best financial year ever. They reported $13 billion in annual recurring revenue as of August 2025, up from $10 billion just 2 months earlier. They have 700 million weekly ChatGPT users and 5 million paying business customers. Daily engagement hit 3 billion messages. This is a company printing money from AI services. So why give away billions of dollars in research for free? Why risk cannibalizing their own API revenue with models that developers can run locally? According to VentureBeat, OpenAI's new open models will almost certainly cut into some, perhaps a lot, of usage of OpenAI's paid models. That's a direct acknowledgement that this move hurts their bottom line. The answer isn't in their quarterly earnings. It's in their competitive positioning. As one researcher noted, open-source competitors, beginning with DeepSeek R1, are offering near parity on performance benchmarks to paid proprietary models for free. OpenAI realized they couldn't fight free with expensive, so they had to change the game entirely. But the technical limitations of their openness reveal their true strategy. Let's examine what OpenAI kept secret in their open release. According to Fortune, they avoided sharing any proprietary training techniques or architecture innovations that power their frontier models like GPT-4o. Former Google DeepMind researcher Alexa Gordich explained the strategy. You want to minimize risk to your business, but you also want to be maximally useful to the public. They minimize the IP leak and remove any risk to their core business. Specifically, OpenAI won't tell you what training data was used or how it was processed, the routing mechanisms for their mixture of experts architecture, training methodologies or optimization techniques, evaluation frameworks or safety procedures, the actual innovations that make their models competitive. They're giving you the car, but keeping the factory. You can drive it, but you can't build your own or understand why it works. This selective transparency serves dual purposes: appear open to compete with Chinese models, while protecting the intellectual property that justifies their $300 billion valuation. But the competitive implications go deeper than just IP protection.
There's a brilliant secondary strategy in OpenAI's move that most analysts missed. By releasing open weights, they're now available on every major cloud platform for the first time. Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and others can now offer open AI models alongside their own AI services. As AWS VP David Brown told Axios, it does look like a very impressive model that competes very, very well with everything out there. This instantly expands OpenAI's distribution beyond their own API to every major cloud ecosystem. Instead of losing cloud revenue, they're gaining multi-platform presence. Meanwhile, the local deployment capability addresses enterprise customers who need on-premises AI for security or compliance reasons. These customers couldn't use ChatGPT's cloud service, but they can now run OpenAI models locally. It's a market expansion disguised as open-source altruism. They're not cannibalizing revenue, they're opening new revenue streams while appearing philanthropic. But the technical performance claims need scrutiny. OpenAI claims their GPT-OSS models match or exceed their own O3 Mini and O4 Mini models on various benchmarks. The larger 120B model supposedly performs at the level of their proprietary models on reasoning tasks. But notice what they didn't do: benchmark against Chinese models. As Fortune reported, OpenAI declined to benchmark its new open-weight models against Chinese open-source systems like DeepSeek or Qwen, despite the fact that those models have recently outperformed US systems. This omission is telling. If your models truly compete with the global leaders,
why avoid direct comparison? Either their models don't actually match Chinese performance, or the comparison would reveal uncomfortable truths about American AI capabilities. The benchmarks they chose, AIME Mathematics, MMLU Reasoning, HealthBench, are carefully selected to show their models in the best light. It's like a basketball player only showing statistics from games they won. Independent testing by the AI community will reveal the true performance gap, but OpenAI's selective benchmarking suggests they know the comparison isn't favorable. The timing of this release also reveals strategic desperation. OpenAI originally promised these models in June 2025. They delayed to July, then delayed again to August, citing safety concerns and additional testing. But the timing reveals the real reason for urgency. Chinese models have been dominating headlines throughout 2025. DeepSeek R1 in January, followed by improved versions, Alibaba's Q-Win updates, and consistent performance improvements from Chinese teams. Meanwhile, OpenAI's closed approach was losing developer mindshare. As MIT Technology Review noted, some users had started referring to the company as closed AI due to their lack of open models since 2019. The delays weren't about safety, they were about getting the competitive positioning right. OpenAI needed models good enough to compete with Chinese alternatives, but limited enough to protect their proprietary advantages. The August release timing, just months before expected GPT-5 launch, suggests these models are a strategic bridge, not a destination. But the global implications extend beyond just company strategy. This isn't just about corporate competition, it's about technological sovereignty. As Jensen Huang noted, open source has many global implications. Not only did the open source models help the Chinese ecosystem, they are helping ecosystems around the world. Countries and companies worldwide are making fundamental decisions about which AI ecosystem to build upon. If they choose Chinese models, they're potentially subject to Chinese data policies, censorship requirements, and geopolitical influence. OpenAI's Democratic AI Rails messaging directly addresses this concern. They're offering an American alternative with implied democratic values and Western alignment. But the limited openness of their approach reveals a fundamental tension. True openness requires giving up control, but geopolitical competition requires maintaining technological advantages. Chinese companies have been more willing to embrace full openness because they're playing catch-up. American companies leading in AI have more to lose from complete transparency. This creates an asymmetric competition where authoritarian-aligned companies can be more open than democratic ones, inverting traditional expectations about freedom and transparency. The resolution of this tension will determine the global AI landscape. For developers and companies, OpenAI's move creates both opportunities and risks. The positive, you now have access to high-quality reasoning models that can run locally, offering privacy and cost advantages over cloud APIs. The GPT-OSS-20B model can run on a laptop with 16 gigabytes of RAM, making advanced AI accessible to individual developers and small companies. The 120B model requires more hardware but still runs on a single high-end GPU. However, the limitations matter. Without access to training data and methodologies, you're building on a black box. You can't truly understand, debug, or fundamentally improve these models. Compare this to truly open alternatives like Almo from the Allen Institute, which provides complete transparency, or even Chinese models that offer more technical detail despite their geopolitical concerns. For enterprises, the choice becomes accept limited openness from a trusted American source, or embrace fuller transparency from geopolitically complex Chinese alternatives. This decision will shape not just technical architectures, but business relationships and data governance for years to come. The era of simple AI vendor selection is over. Every choice now carries geopolitical implications. OpenAI's GPT-OSS release marks an inflection point in AI development.
we're witnessing the emergence of an AI Cold War, where technological capabilities intertwine with geopolitical positioning and economic strategy. The open weights approach represents a middle path, competitive enough to challenge Chinese dominance while protective enough to maintain American technological advantages. It's openness as strategy, not philosophy. Sam Altman's admission that they were on the wrong side of history with closed models shows how quickly the AI landscape can shift. Chinese competition forced the world's most valuable AI company to fundamentally change their approach. But the selective transparency raises deeper questions about the future of AI development. Can partially open models compete with fully open alternatives? Will developers accept limited transparency for political alignment? The answer will determine whether AI development becomes fragmented along geopolitical lines or maintains some global cohesion. The stakes couldn't be higher. The AI infrastructure built today will power global innovation for decades. For now, OpenAI is betting that limited openness plus democratic values can compete with fuller transparency from authoritarian sources. The global developer community will ultimately decide if that bet pays off. If this analysis of AI geopolitics and strategic positioning open your eyes to what's really happening behind corporate announcements, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. The AI industry moves fast, and understanding the real strategies matters more than ever. Share this with developers and AI professionals who need to understand that their technical choices now carry geopolitical implications. In the new AI Cold War, there are no purely neutral decisions. The future of AI development hangs in the balance. Now you understand why.